In our headlines on this Wednesday afternoon, August 21st, here in South Korea. Tropical storm Jongdari weakens into a tropical depression earlier than expected, with no reports of major casualties, but rain remains in quite a few places. Over in the US, former President Barack Obama addresses the Democratic National Convention on its second night, advocating for Vice President Kamala Harris's run for the top office. Meanwhile, in Europe, Russia claims it has captured an eastern small Ukrainian town that is strategically significant in terms of logistics as part of its response to a surprise incursion by Kyiv in recent times. Tropical storm Jongdari has reportedly waned in strength, but rain continues across most of the nation today. Our Shin Ha-young starts us off.
Typhoon Jongdari, which had been moving north along the west and south coasts, weakened into a tropical depression as of 9 p.m. on Tuesday, according to the Korea Meteorological Administration. It has weakened earlier than expected, and even at its peak, the maximum wind speed barely met the criteria for a typhoon, which is at least 17 meters per second. Although there was no major damage or injuries reported, various minor incidents were reported across the nation. The Ministry of the Interior and Safety reported that as of 6 p.m. Tuesday, 13 vehicles were flooded in Uljugun in Ulsan City. Off the coast of Goseong-gun, Gyeongsang-namdo Province, a fishing boat sank, but the 4 crew members were rescued. On Jeju Island, flight operations were disrupted, with 1 flight cancelled and 145 delayed out of 495 due to bad weather. As Jongdari moved north, it brought hot and humid air, causing a spike in electric power demand across the country. According to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, as of 5 p.m. Tuesday, the estimated electricity demand reached an all-time high of 97.1 gigawatts. Rain clouds also reduced solar power efficiency in the Honam region in the southern part of Korea, which accounts for 40% of the nation's total solar power capacity. This led to increased market demand. The surge coincides with Seoul experiencing its longest ever streak of tropical nights when nighttime temperatures don't fall below 25 degrees Celsius, which began on July 21st. While rain is forecasted to temporarily lower temperatures on Wednesday and Thursday, they're expected to rise again on Friday. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol remains open to more talks with his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida, but nothing has been set in stone with regard to a potential visit by the Japanese leader early next month. This is according to the presidential office in Yongsan, in response to a report by Japanese news agency Kyodo News on Tuesday that cited Japanese diplomatic sources speaking about a possible summit here in Seoul in early September. Earlier last week, Prime Minister Kishida announced that he would not run in the party leadership vote scheduled for late September, paving the path for a new prime minister in Japan. Meanwhile, should this latest summit take place, it will be the 10th meeting between the two leaders. Earlier on Tuesday, a North Korean soldier became the second defected to cross the border into South Korea on foot this month. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
A North Korean soldier defected to South Korea on foot early on Tuesday. According to a South Korean military source, the soldier, who is reportedly a staff sergeant, crossed the military demarcation line in the northeastern county of Goseong-gun, Gangwon-do Province. Wearing a military uniform, they are believed to have walked south using the road along the east coast. South Korea's military tracked and monitored the individual and conducted an operation to guide them into the south. The individual has been handed over to relevant authorities. The area where the crossover happened, Goseong, is close to where South Korea has been carrying out loudspeaker propaganda broadcasts in retaliation to North Korea's continued trash balloon deliveries. It's also near where North Korean soldiers were recently seen laying mines as part of the regime's efforts to prevent North Koreans from crossing the border.
You could say that the defection shows there's a loophole in North Korea's mine laying.
South Korea's Unification Ministry said that the number of defections by North Korean soldiers could be an indirect indicator of the conditions faced by the regime soldiers near the border. Tuesday's border crossing comes less than 2 weeks after a North Korean resident defected to South Korea by crossing the maritime border. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
The U.S. has reaffirmed the defensive nature of the annual Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise with South Korea amid allegations by North Korea that the drills are a rehearsal for invasion. According to Pentagon Press Secretary Pat Ryder on Tuesday, Pyongyang's claims are false, and the Joint Military Exercise offers Seoul and Washington the opportunity to work together to bolster their defense against regional security concerns. The latest session began this past Monday and is set to last for 11 days. It includes a computer simulation-based command post exercise, concurrent field training, and civil defense drills. Also in the U.S., former President Barack Obama addressed the Democratic National Convention Tuesday night with strong words of support for Vice President Kamala Harris's race to the White House. He spoke of America being ready for a better story and stressed that Kamala Harris is ready for that job. Highlighting her humble beginnings, Obama asserted that Kamala Harris would work on behalf of every American, especially those in the working class, as she is a person who spent her life fighting on behalf of those who need a voice. With regard to the Republican Party's candidate, Obama claimed America does not need 4 more years of chaos. Russia claims it has captured an eastern Ukrainian town that is strategically significant in terms of logistics as part of its response to a surprise incursion by Kyiv in recent times. Our Eunjin has more.
Russia said on Tuesday that it had captured the eastern Ukrainian town of New York, a small yet strategically important logistics hub and a significant part of Moscow's push to capture the entire Donetsk region. Donetsk is one of 4 Ukrainian regions that Russia claims to have annexed, while it remains a territorial claim that Kyiv and the West have rejected as illegal. 2 weeks after Ukraine's surprise attack on Kursk, aimed at weakening Russian forces, the Kremlin announced on Tuesday that new military groupings were being formed in eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described the situation in the east as difficult, but the country's top commander says forces have pushed to capture 1,263 square kilometers of territory, including 93 settlements. Washington says its policy of not allowing Ukraine to use long-range missiles inside Russia remains unchanged, despite Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky repeatedly seeking permission to use American long-range weapons and British Storm Shadow missiles. While Zelensky continues to reiterate that being able to use long-range weapons would halt the current invasion in Russia, the Biden administration remains concerned about the potential for escalation, adding that the drones currently used by Ukraine have been effective in hitting Russian targets. Washington is also effectively blocking Britain's request to allow Kyiv to use British Storm Shadow missiles, which have a range of up to 250 kilometers, against targets deep inside Russian territory. Yeon-jin, Arirang News.
The current COVID-19 outbreak here in Korea is expected to persist until the end of this month. In a briefing earlier on this Wednesday, the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency predicted this summer's resurgence will peak by late August before retreating. Also, according to the agency, the cumulative fatality rate from January 2020 to August 2023 was 0.1%. A stable supply of treatments and test kits has been secured to better protect high-risk groups, including the elderly. And the agency is also urging members of the public to practice a sensible hygiene routine, such as washing hands and wearing face masks if necessary. Also, health officials here have redesignated Mpox, known as Monkeypox, as well as an infectious disease that requires border screening. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency on Tuesday announced that those traveling into Korea from 8 African nations, including Rwanda and Kenya, experiencing symptoms such as fever, chills, and swollen lymph nodes, are required to report to quarantine officials upon arrival. This comes as the World Health Organization recently declared Mpox a public health emergency of international concern. In other news, Korea's producer prices rose yet again in July on the back of higher costs of agricultural and fisheries products. According to the Bank of Korea, the producer price index stood at 119.56 last month. Now, this is 0.3% higher on month. Despite a drop in utility bills, petroleum products and manufactured goods also pushed up the producer price index. On year, July's index is up 2.6%, posting an annual acceleration for 12 months in a row. Meanwhile, back on Tuesday, relevant government officials and ruling party lawmakers worked to frame Korea's budget proposal for next year with support for small business owners and families with children. Our Song Yoo-jin reports.
The government and ruling party will focus the 2025 budget on supporting vulnerable groups, boosting economic vitality, and preparing for the future.
As household finances are tight and domestic economic challenges are expected to persist, various physical and financial policy measures need to follow to address these issues.
During a meeting at the National Assembly on Tuesday, senior government officials and the People Power Party agreed to issue a record 5.5 trillion Korean won, or around $4 billion in gift certificates, offering discounts for goods at traditional markets to support small business owners.
We decided to reduce the number of restricted business types eligible for the coupons from the current 40 to 28.
To address the country's low birth rate and aging population, benefits for households with 2 or more children will be expanded. This includes increasing the subsidy for buying electric vehicles to up to 6 million won, or $4,500, which is double the current amount. Also, for families with 3 or more children, the discount rate on public transportation passes will be increased up to 50%. In response to growing safety concerns about electric vehicle batteries following recent EV fires, the two sides also agreed to deploy 90,000 EV chargers with fire prevention features and allocate extra funds for purchasing unmanned water cannons and other firefighting equipment. The PPP emphasized that the budget for next year aims to maintain sound financial management while also improving welfare for the socially vulnerable. The government plans to submit the final bill to the National Assembly on September 2nd. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
And the government has also pledged support for sellers and consumers bearing the brunt of the financial fallout of e-commerce platforms Tmon and WeMake Price. At an economic ministerial meeting on Tuesday, Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok said that the government would provide 1.6 trillion Korean won, or some $1.2 billion in financial support to those awaiting payment from the platforms. Now, this is an increase from the 1.2 trillion won proposed earlier this month. According to officials, as of Monday, the two e-commerce platforms owed sellers a total of around $600 million. Meanwhile, some $27 million have been refunded to consumers since the crisis began. Agricultural authorities are hoping the presence of smart technology at livestock farms will encourage a younger, tech-savvy demographic to embrace the trade. Our Lee Soo-jin explains.
You can tell just from the outside that this isn't your typical pig farm. This farm in Pyeongtaek, Gyeonggi-do province has adopted smart livestock technology that increases the PSY, or the number of piglets born per sow, per year. It also reduces the infamous foul odor of pig farms, making pig farming more appealing to young people, which, according to the Agriculture Ministry, is an urgent need.
The share of livestock farmers aged 70 and above has reached a record 34.3%. Without younger farmers, the livestock industry could stagnate.
And this farm is an example of how smart livestock technology can be used to attract younger farmers. Each morning, the manager checks the temperature and humidity of the farm and adjusts them in this control room, helping pigs, which are especially vulnerable to respiratory diseases, stay healthy. They're also kept well fed thanks to third-generation livestock technology that makes sure the pigs get the right amount of food. AI-enhanced cameras are used to detect when the feeders are empty, making it possible for them to be refilled automatically. Thanks to these ideal conditions, the PSY here is around 30, compared to the nationwide average of around 24 last year. But the most helpful change smart livestock technology can bring is arguably its role in reducing foul odors.
Before this technology, livestock farms were often plagued by numerous complaints. Getting rid of the smell not only benefits the people in the area, but it also allows for a more pleasant working environment.
Air released from the farm is gathered into an air shower room where a whopping 100 tons of water is used every hour to purify the air before it's released. More widespread use of smart technology at livestock farms like this is expected to encourage more young people to join the agriculture sector, giving it a much-needed boost. As part of its efforts to boost usage, the Agriculture Ministry is providing mentoring programs to teach young people how to use this technology. Continued efforts like this by the public sector will likely result in a new generation of farmers meeting the growing demand for meat through the use of smart livestock technology. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
And in a bid to better support small auto-related businesses, the government has in place a number of centers that offer free electromagnetic wave testing. Our Cha Young-kyung tells us why these centers and the testing are important.
As the driver starts up their car, electromagnetic waves emitted by the vehicle are detected by the antenna, causing the signals on the measurement system to fluctuate rapidly. This phenomenon isn't limited to electric vehicles. Most newly launched cars are equipped with various advanced driver assistance systems, such as lane departure warnings and collision prevention. These advanced systems rely on numerous high-powered electronic components within the vehicle, making it essential to conduct thorough electromagnetic wave tests to prevent potential malfunctions caused by interference. To address this need, central and local governments have established an electromagnetic wave testing facility where companies can conduct comprehensive wave tests free of charge. The facility is constructed from galvanized steel sheets that block electromagnetic waves, resulting in no cell phone reception inside. The facility supports a variety of tests, including interference tests for electromagnetic waves, radar performance assessments, antenna reception evaluations, and provides technical personnel for wave measurement. As electromagnetic wave applications expand across industries, the demand for large-scale testing has grown, leading to an increased utilization of the facility. Electronic equipment that relies on wireless signals requires rigorous electromagnetic wave testing. However, small and medium-sized businesses often struggle to conduct these tests independently due to the high costs involved. With this facility, all companies can now access up to 5 days of free testing, enabling them to perform essential evaluations without the financial burden.
Like its name, the electromagnetic wave testing facility provides suitable environment for wave tests for anyone. Also, we support high-end measurement equipment for free.
Currently, electromagnetic wave testing facilities are available in Seoul, Daegu, and Chungcheongbuk-do province. These facilities provide significant support for the growth of small and medium-sized businesses, while also meeting the testing needs of local companies that require electromagnetic wave assessments. Cha Young-kyung, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. We begin today in India, where demonstrations erupted on Tuesday in the country's western state of Maharashtra after 2 4-year-old girls were allegedly sexually assaulted by a cleaner at a school near Mumbai. According to the local media, protesters marching for justice halted trains by occupying a railway station and its tracks. Indian security forces attempted to disperse the protesters using tear gas and batons, and the protesters responded by pelting stones at the authorities. Train services resumed after 10 hours. Indian police said that the alleged perpetrator at the school in the town of Badlapur in the Tain district has been arrested, while the state chief minister Eknath Shinde added that the case would be fast-tracked. Now to Italy, where the search for 6 missing people, including British tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his daughter, continued into the dark of the night on Tuesday following an intense storm suspected to have sunk the luxury yacht on Monday. The British-flagged Beijing, a 56-meter-long super yacht, was carrying 22 people and anchored just off the port of Porticello when it was hit by what is believed to be a ferocious pre-dawn tornado over the water, also known as a watersprout, and sank. Specialist divers continued to search for 6 people, while one body recovered near the yacht on Monday is believed to be that of the chef of the Beijing, Canadian Antiguan Ricardo Thomas. Witnesses said that the vessel, anchored only 700 meters from Porticello, just east of Palermo, disappeared within minutes, despite naval experts saying a boat as big as the Beijing would have been designed to stay afloat for hours even after taking on water. Salvatore Coccina, head of civil protection in Sicily, leading the rescue mission, said there is little chance of finding more survivors. In Kenya, a man arrested over a month ago, suspected of killing some 42 women, including his wife, escaped from police custody on Tuesday in the country's capital, Nairobi. The alleged serial killer, 33-year-old Collins Jumaisi Kalusha, was arrested when the police discovered at least 6 bodies wrapped in plastic bags in an abandoned quarry, now used as a trash dump, which was located near his home. A police spokesperson said on Tuesday that Jumaisi broke out of the Jigiri police station along with 12 Eritrean nationals. Kenya Police Acting Inspector General Gilbert Masengeli added that the police have launched a manhunt to rearrest the escapees and that the force's preliminary investigation indicates that the escape was aided by insiders. Bolivian firefighters on Monday continued efforts to bring forest fires in the country's Santa Cruz region under control, with the month-long blaze already causing significant damage to residents, wildlife, and the landscape. According to an official report, the forest fires have devastated over 2 million hectares of land, with over 500 firefighters deployed in the Santa Cruz, Beni, and Pando regions. While the forest fires forced locals to flee and scorched the wildlife, a biodiversity team from Santa Cruz Natural Resources Directorate rescued animals, including anteaters and lizards, which will be given treatment before being released back to their original habitat. Kim Xiang, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Heavy rain has been pouring down in central regions due to Typhoon Jongdari, which weakened to a tropical depression last night. And through late this afternoon, the capital and Gangwon-do province could receive 30 to 50 millimeters an hour of downpours, along with strong winds. And central parts of Korea need to brace for a lot of rain into tomorrow. So a heavy rain watch is in place for most of the central areas in Chungcheongdo province. A wind advisory is in effect along the west coast, and a high seas advisory remains in place for waters of Jeju and parts of the West Sea. So please stay away from the water today. Temperature-wise, Seoul woke up to a new record of 31 consecutive tropical nights this morning. Highs should be about 7 degrees lower today, topping out at 30 degrees here in the capital. Daegu, Gyeongju, Jeju topping out at 34 degrees. Now, today's rain will not bring the much-needed weather shift to the country, so brace for heat through the end of the month. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Those are the top stories at this hour here in Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, and today we address Korea's food waste recycling. Do stay with us.